Hi, good evening, everyone. Today we will be looking at statements of problem. It's one of the sections in research reports writing. Okay. In the previous lectures, we looked at the background of the study. Now we are looking at the statement of the problem. What informed you into going to the research work? I'm by name Ezara Runyeka. I am a registered community practitioner and a primary healthcare tutor. So today we'll be looking extensively on statement of a problem. Okay, and we say that statement of problem is a concise and clear description of the issue that a researcher wants to investigate in their study. It is an essential component of any research project as it helps to define the scope and purpose of the research. Statement of the problem is an essential aspect of any research project. It is a concise and clear description of the research problem. Note this word, research problem. That research problem is a social problem. And a social problem is a problem that is affecting people, the population. Okay, so it is a concise and clear description of this research problem that the study aims to address. The statement of problem helps to identify the research gap and provides a clear understanding of the research question. You know, the research question is related to the research objectives, and the research objective is what is put in place to address the research problem. And whenever we talk about gaps are issues that are existing. In the previous lecture, we cited an example. So it could be a gap in knowledge. Some would have not understand what is actually happening. And then you want to actually solve that problem. And we say it could come from the methodology, the person who have researched in it, or it could also be that no one has ever carried research in that aspect of life. It's a gap. And therefore, there's no existing knowledge. Also, it could also be that someone has researched on it, but because of the method the person used or the population the person used differs, it also creates a problem or a gap. It could also be that two different persons have different outcome from the same population. So therefore, there's need for further research in that area. Okay. Now, it says, here are some guidelines for writing a statement of problem in research. 1, identify the research gap. The statement of the problem should clearly identify the research gap that the study aims to address. Gaps can be identified by reviewing the existing literature. Those existing literature are works done by other scholars on the topic, and identify areas that have not been explored or require further investigation. I've explained that. A well-written statement of the problem should be specific. The statement of a problem should be specific and clearly define the research question. It should be too broad. It should not be too broad, or too narrow. It should be focused on a specific issue or problem that the study aims to address. Another characteristic is use clear language. The statement of the problem should be written in clear and concise language, avoiding using technical jargons or complex language that may be difficult for the reader to understand. It should also provide context. The statement of the problem should provide a context for the research question or research objective. This can be done by providing a background information on the topic and explaining why the research question is important. So in the first section of every good written statement of a problem, it should provide the context, which connects with the background of the study. We have explained what the context is in our previous lecture on the background to the study. Then, and explaining why research question is important, that is justification. Another characteristic is use evidence. The statement of the problem should be supported by evidence from existing literature. This evidence can be used to demonstrate the research gap and the need for further investigation. There is need for you to provide literatures that have been done by other persons to support whatever you're writing. Then it should be realistic. The statement of problem should be realistic and achievable. It should not be too ambiguous or unrealistic in terms of the scope of the study or the resources available. Be original. The statement of the problem should be original and innovative. It should not be a replication of existing studies or research questions. So your own work should be different. It can still be the same population, but with different methodology. In summary, a statement of problem is an essential component of every research project. It should be specific, clear, supported by evidence from existing literature. It should provide context for the research question and be realistic and original in terms of the scope of the study. Let's take the topic, knowledge and attitude of pregnant women towards antenatal care as an example. Despite the importance of antenatal care in promoting maternal and child health, there is a lack of understanding about the knowledge and attitude of pregnant women towards antenatal care. It has introduced the context, and the context is all about what? Antenatal care. Okay, it is a behavior. While some studies suggest that pregnant women have a positive attitude towards ANC and they understand its importance, others suggest that there are gaps in knowledge and negative attitude towards ANC. You see, he's now providing a supporting evidence from other literatures. There is a need for further research to explore the knowledge and attitudes of pregnant women towards ANC, particularly in low-income settings, where access to quality ANC may be limited. You see, this is how a well-written statement of problem begins. Okay. Now let us dissect this thing that's written based on the characteristics of a well-written statement of the problem. One, it provided the context, and the context is, despite the importance of antenatal care in promoting maternal and child health, there is a lack of understanding about the knowledge and attitude of pregnant women towards ANC. It also used evidence in the example above. It says, while some studies suggest that pregnant women have a positive attitude towards ANC and understands its importance, others suggest there are gaps in knowledge and negative attitude towards ANC. It's an evidence. It identified a gap. It says there is a lack of understanding. Lack of understanding is a social problem. When you don't understand a particular population, what their knowledge and attitude is towards a particular healthcare activity, it is a risk, because they might not use it, and that will be a waste of resources, which is a social problem. And when they don't use it, that will lead to a morbid state for them. And when that happens, that's a social problem. So, and the gap here is there is a lack of understanding about the knowledge and attitudes of pregnant women towards ANC. It is realistic. The knowledge and attitudes of pregnant women towards ANC here, that is the realistic. Here, this research work is achievable with very few resources. And it focused on specific population. You see, it's realistic. A particular population, women or pregnant women. So it can be, you can carry out the research because it's not talking about all the women in the world, but it's talking about women that are pregnant in a particular community, which you can achieve with your resources. It is original in the sense that what makes the work original could be the location where the study is being carried out, or even the methodology. Yes, maybe this research is carried out in Ubomiri. So maybe in that woman, nobody has carried out such same research with same methodology. That makes what? Original. In this example, the statement of problem is specific and focused on research question, which is the knowledge and attitude of pregnant women towards ANC. The language is clear and concise, and the statement provides context for research problem by highlighting the conflicting findings in the literature. Yes, say some people said this, some people said that. You see, that's an evidence. The statement is supported by evidence as it references previous studies on the topic. The statement is also realistic and achievable as it focuses on a specific population, pregnant women, and a specific outcome, knowledge and attitude towards ANC. Finally, the statement is written with the audience in mind as it is accessible and understandable to anyone with a basic understanding of maternal and child health. Overall, this statement of the problem provides a clear, concise overview of the research question, highlights the importance of the topic, and sets the stage for further research on the knowledge and attitudes of pregnant women towards ANC. Okay? Now, furthermore, a statement of the problem, like we said, is a concise, clear description of the issue or gap in knowledge that the research aims to address. It is an essential component of any research proposal or study, as it provides the context and the reason for the research question. The main components, now let's look at the main components of every statement of the problem. One, every statement of the problem must have the statement of social need. It must tell us a social need, and that social need could be a social problem. And that is why we are using a social strategy to solve it. The researcher should show that there is a social need. Take, for example, where family planning is given, and they are not utilizing it. At the end of it, the women started having a shorter birth interval, and they begin to have children who are suffering from marasmus or kwashiorkor due to short birth interval and lack of resources to care for them. That having of children who are marasmic or who have kwashiorkor is a social problem because those children can die. So the researcher should show that there is a social need that the study intends to address, which requires research. Yeah, you should describe the facts or prevailing social conditions that have raised concern that have led you to consider this as a problem worthy of investigation. A good way of stating the statement of social need is to be based on the need on government or institution data. So you can use statistical data that in a particular community that 10 in 100 children are now coming down with marasmus. That is a big social problem. So in your statement of the problem, you must capture the statement of social need, at least in the second paragraph. Then the second component of a statement of problem is statement of knowledge gap. The statement of knowledge gap shows that among the literature that the researcher reviewed, there seems to be no sufficient answer to the problem being investigated and why. So in that your statement, you have to prove also that other works have been carried out, but there is a gap. And I've told you that the gap can be maybe that research have not been carried out in that particular community you are about to carry out that study, which makes it that no one has a knowledge of what it is in that community, and that's a gap. It could also be that someone has carried out research in that work, in that community, but the method the person used have some challenges and you want to use a better methodology and to control for factors the person did not control. So you have to identify a gap. How can you identify a gap? One, in context of the study. Like I said, maybe the area you are to carry out the study is different from, so that makes the gap. You can also identify the gap from variable identified in the previous study. Maybe the person studied knowledge and attitude. You yourself, you can add yourself knowledge, attitude, and perception. That is a gap because no one have a very good, because as at that moment, no one has the knowledge of what their perception of that people is. But they may have had knowledge of what their attitude is all about, but no perception. So you adding perception, you are trying to close the gap. And that person might come to me and do the same work, but with different research design. Then you decide to use cohort studies and all of that. Another way of finding gap is when there's conflicting findings. For instance, a study may find that knowledge of mothers towards exclusive breastfeeding has a relationship with the practice of breastfeeding exclusively. Another person's study may find out that the knowledge do not have a relationship to the practice of breastfeeding exclusively. So this is a reason you may have to decide to go into research to the field. This person came out and said there's a relationship between knowledge and breastfeeding exclusively among mothers. And that person came out and said there's no relationship between knowledge and breastfeeding exclusively. That is a gap. Now, after you have identified the knowledge gap, you should show how your study addresses the gap and how your own contribution will be unique. Okay, now let's take an example. Attitude and use of long-acting reversible contraceptive among women of childbearing in Ubomiri community in Ibitolu Edge of Imo State. He began by introducing the background and context. Long-acting reversible contraceptives play a crucial role in promoting reproductive health and have significant implications for individuals, families, and communities. LAC methods such as intrauterine device and contraceptive implants offer highly effective and long-lasting contraception, providing numerous benefits that contribute to overall reproductive well-being. LAC methods are among the most effective forms of contraception available, with a lower failure rate compared to other methods such as oral contraception or condom. This high effectiveness helps individuals and couples better plan and space their children, reducing the risk of unintended pregnancies and associated health risks. Moreover, LAC methods have proven to be reversible, allowing fertility to be restored promptly after discontinuation. Once the LAC method is removed, individuals can quickly regain their fertility, allowing them to plan their desired pregnancies. This feature provides flexibility and control over reproductive choices. The government and NGO have prioritized the integration of family planning services, including LAC method, into primary healthcare facilities, and introduced the background and context. Now, he said, despite the effectiveness of LAC and government effort, there seems to be low utilization of LAC, as noted by the researcher. Now, the researcher observed an increase in mild to moderate malnutrition among children under 5. 1 in 100 children within 1 year of age come down with this condition, and 1 in 70 women in Ubomiri has a short birth interval of less than 1 year, as some of the mothers become pregnant again before their baby has completed 1 year. According to recent statistics from the Ubomiri community, the rate of moderate to severe malnutrition stands at 1.6%, with 100 children recorded to have this condition out of the total population of 6,441 children under 5. This was gotten from population projection document. This is significantly impacting on the well-being and future development of these children, and also considering limited resources in the community to address this condition, and makes it highly significant as it highlights the need for targeted interventions and support. So when you look at this now, it gives you a statistics, which makes it a social problem. There's a social problem here. 1 in 100 children within 1 year of age. When you look at the total children by the population project, 6,401, it's high when you say 1 in 100. So now we have children that are coming down with these conditions, which is a social problem. But these children could die. Even the morbid state consumes money. And looking at the community, maybe there's no for management of acute malnutrition. So that poses a risk for the development of that child, and that's a social problem. You see a social need. But in the first section, he introduced the context of family planning and reproductive health. Now he went forward to identify a social problem with statistics. Then finally, he identified a gap, which is a problem. Okay, which is a problem. So despite the effectiveness, there seems to be low utilization of this. This low utilization, there seems to be. That means no one has given us a research work on that, and that is a gap. There seems to be low utilization. So now, from his own work, he will either conclude that there is low utilization, because the social problem there is that these children are coming down with this marasmic condition, and the birth interval is low. However, it could be that they're not using family planning. It could be that their knowledge is poor about it. It could be that they're not being informed. So from this work, he justified, so he can go to research and carry out the work. So he went further to say, therefore, the researcher deems it necessary to investigate the knowledge, attitude, and use of lack among women of childbearing in the Igbo community. So now these are the independent variable, knowledge and attitude. Then use of lack is what dependent what variable, which is the behavior in question. So I believe we've been able to look at how to write a very good statement of problem. If you look at this statement of problem, it's concise, it's original, it has all the characteristics earlier stated. It identifies a gap, it used an evidence, it provided the context, it is realistic, it is original. Then it has the essential three components: statement of social needs, which is marasmic condition, birth interval less than 1 year of age, then statement of knowledge gap. There's no knowledge, there's no available information to tell us if their utilization is high or low. So that means there have not been any research in that area. Then finally, he identified a gap. So I believe with this, we've been able to discuss how to write a very good statement of problem. Thank you. And don't forget to follow our page to gain more knowledge on research. Thank you, and God bless you.